I first touched Blackbeard's world through cold water. Not a legend, not a book. Just a piece of clay no bigger than my thumb, chalky, smooth, and wrong in my palm. We were off the North Carolina coast, where the sea can look polite and still swallow you whole. The kind of day divers love. The kind of day history hides behind. A diver beside me held up what he'd found and made the "come here" gesture underwater. I kicked closer, watching sand peel away in tiny spirals. A broken pipe stem, a fragment of pottery, then the clay piece, rounded like a small bowl, a tobacco pipe. Old, very old. Back on the boat, the historian didn't smile. He didn't need to. He just said quietly, as if the ocean might hear, "Queen Anne's Revenge. Blackbeard's flagship. The name alone does something to people. Even now, even 300 years later. You can feel it in the way a crew stops joking, in the way your breath shortens, like you've walked into a room with someone dangerous, even when that someone is long dead." That night, I wrote a single sentence in my field notes. If the wreck is real, the story is real. And if the story is real, the treasure question is real too. Because everyone asks it eventually. Where is Blackbeard's treasure? And I used to think that question was simple. Then I learned the first rule of pirate history. The truth is rarely buried in sand. It's buried in people. And Blackbeard, Edward Teach, Thatch, or whatever name he wore that week, was a man made of people's fear. His career was short, almost absurdly short, barely more than a year at the height of it. But fear doesn't need time. Fear just needs performance. Blackbeard understood that. He built himself like a nightmare with a captain's hat. The stories say he braided his beard and tied ribbons into it. That he lit slow-burning fuses under his hat so smoke crawled around his face. That he carried pistols across his chest like decorations. Was all of it true? Maybe not. But here's what matters. People believed it. Merchants saw him and surrendered before cannons spoke. Sailors heard the name and felt the sea turn colder. And for a while, that belief was worth more than gold. Still, gold mattered. Rum mattered. Sugar, cloth, spice, medicine. Anything you could sell fast in a port that asked no questions. He learned the routes, the timing, the weak points. That part is real enough to taste. But where do men like that come from? That's the second rule. Pirates don't appear. They're created. In the records, Blackbeard surfaces as a capable sailor, educated compared to most, able to navigate, able to read and write. That doesn't mean he was born to wealth. It means he was useful. He sailed with men who were already pirates, men with experience, men with crews. And the one name that always circles back is Benjamin Honigold. Honigold wasn't just a captain, he was a teacher, a recruiter, a builder of fleets. Some accounts call Blackbeard his protégé, his second, the man who learned the trade at his shoulder. And I like to imagine it like this. A young sailor stands on a deck at dusk. The air is wet. The rigging sings. A captain points at the horizon and says, "That lane there, that's where the fat ships drift. That lane there, that's where the Navy expects us. And that's why we won't be there." That's how you train a pirate. Not with a sword, with a map. But the relationship doesn't last. Philosophies split. Honigold, by most accounts, was cautious about attacking certain flags, especially British ships. Maybe loyalty, maybe strategy, maybe fear of consequences. Blackbeard, gung-ho, hungry, impatient, wanted freedom. Any ship, any cargo, any day. And when Honigold stepped back, Blackbeard stepped forward. That's when the world started to say his name. He took prizes. He built a reputation. He gathered a crew that wasn't just desperate, it was devoted. Men follow fear because fear feels like power. Then came the ship that made the myth heavy. A French slave ship turned pirate flagship. Rebuilt, armed, renamed. Queen Anne's Revenge. Even the name is a message. Politics, provocation, theater. A banner you can't ignore. And once you have a ship like that, you stop being a thief. You become a headline. By spring of 1718, his crew was large enough to do something that sounds impossible, until you remember how fragile trade was back then. He blockaded Charleston. Not forever, not with iron walls, but long enough. Long enough to choke a port, to make merchants panic, to make authorities feel embarrassed, to make everyone understand that the sea belonged to whoever was brave or mad enough to take it. And there's a detail I always return to, because it doesn't get the attention it deserves. He didn't just take gold, he took medicine, because a pirate crew doesn't fear morality, it fears infection. That tells you something about his mind. Practical, cold, organized. A commander, not just a raider. And when you're that visible, the world answers. Governors start writing letters with your name in them. Officers start planning routes that intersect with yours. People who want promotion start seeing your head as a ticket. Pressure tightens like a rope. And then, suddenly, Blackbeard makes the move that becomes the center of this entire mystery. He turns toward the North Carolina coast, toward inlets and shoals that locals understand and strangers fear, toward a place where sandbars shift like living things. And his flagship, big, heavy, proud, runs aground. Some say it was an accident, an unlucky strike, a misread tide. Others have always suspected something else, a choice. Because if you're being hunted, a large crew is a problem. A famous ship is a lighthouse. Treasure is weight, and weight is a death sentence in shallow water. So imagine this. A captain stands by the rail at dawn. He watches the inlet ahead. He thinks of the governor arriving in the Bahamas. He thinks of naval officers sharpening plans. He thinks of how legends end. And he decides to cut himself free. Not from the world, from his own myth. A ship hits sand. Wood groans. Men shout. Waves slap the hull like hands. And in the confusion, the most important thing happens quietly. Things are moved. Things disappear. Things are not written down. Because pirates kept ledger sometimes. Not for law, for control. And if a ledger is incomplete, it's not always because the writer was sloppy. Sometimes it's incomplete because someone wanted it that way. That's where my title comes from. Blackbeard's last lie. Not the lie that he was a demon. That was marketing. His last lie was smaller, more human. The lie that whatever mattered most was still with him. That it was still on the ship. That it would be found with the wreck. But when we surfaced from that dive in the 1990s, when we laid those artifacts under bright light, I started to feel something unsettling. If this wreck really is Queen Anne's Revenge, then the story we've all been told might be missing its heaviest piece. Because a pirate's greatest trick isn't hiding treasure, it's making everyone search the wrong place. And to understand where the treasure didn't go, you have to follow where Blackbeard did. Not to Beaufort, to the thin strip of water where he made his final stand. Ocracoke. But before we get there, you need to know one more thing. A pirate doesn't die when he's killed. A pirate dies when people stop believing. Blackbeard knew that, so if he planned to die, he would have done it like a performance. And if he planned to vanish, he would have done it like a lie. They tell you treasure is a chest, a map, an X. The truth is uglier. Treasure is logistics. It's who you trust, where you can land, which towns will buy stolen goods without questions, which officials can be bribed with a smile and a purse. After the grounding, Blackbeard doesn't collapse. He doesn't fade. He pivots. He takes smaller ships, leaner crews, faster exits, and the coast of North Carolina, marshy, winding, full of backdoors, becomes more than hiding. It becomes infrastructure. Here's what's real. By late 1718, authorities are furious. Trade is threatened. Pride is wounded. Governors want piracy crushed, not because it's evil, but because it's expensive. And one governor in particular, Virginia's, decides to act with a hunger that feels personal. Not because Blackbeard attacked Virginia directly every day, but because Blackbeard's existence is a threat to control. So plans are written, men are gathered, ships are readied, and Blackbeard, whether by spies, rumor, or instinct, seems to sense the net tightening. Now picture the last months of his life like this. A captain who used to command a floating fortress now moves like a shadow. A man who once took ports now hides in inlets. That shift isn't weakness, it's strategy. Because a legend doesn't need a fleet to survive. A legend needs one last scene. But treasure complicates everything. If he kept a large hoard, it would slow him, make him vulnerable, create betrayal. And betrayal is the most natural force on a pirate ship. So if he had treasure, he needed to do something with it. 3 possibilities emerge, each one cruel in its own way. 1. He divided it, paid men off, bought silence, made sure no one crew member could reveal the whole truth. 2. He hid it on land, in marshes and coves where only locals can move, in a place that looks empty until you know the tide schedule. 3. He sank it, not accidentally, intentionally, because the sea is the only vault that doesn't talk. That third possibility is the one people love, the romantic version. But romance isn't enough. You need motive. And Blackbeard had one. Control. If he died, he didn't want his enemies to inherit his story and his wealth. He would want them to win a battle and still feel cheated. So the hunt begins, not just for a pirate, but for what he took. And on the other side, Blackbeard prepares. He chooses Ocracoke for a reason. Narrow waters, shifting sand. A place where larger naval ships struggle. A place where local knowledge can beat official power. He keeps his circle tight. And in that circle, there's always at least one man like this. A man who watches more than he speaks. A man who knows where things are stored. A man who understands that when the fighting starts, the real job is after, not on the deck, below it. In my story, I call him a quartermaster, because quartermasters were the spine of pirate order. They managed shares, disciplined supplies. And if anyone knew where the real treasure moved, it would be him. Blackbeard doesn't need to say, "Ye hide it." He only needs to say something like, "Make sure they never get it." That line could mean 100 things. And the ocean is very good at obeying. While the governor's men sail south, Blackbeard's world shrinks to essential sounds. The creak of rope, the slap of tide against wood, the distant cough of cannon practice somewhere far away. Every night becomes a question. Will tomorrow be the day the Navy finds the inlet? And in the middle of all that, the lie grows teeth. Because the more authorities chase him, the more valuable the treasure myth becomes. It's bait. It's a reason men will risk storms and shallow waters and sickness. It's the story that outlives him. So by the time Lieutenant Robert Maynard's small force approaches Ocracoke, something is already set. A stage, a trap, a final performance. And the treasure? It has already moved, whether into mud, into another ship, or into the sea. Which means the battle isn't about gold anymore. It's about ownership. Who gets to decide how Blackbeard ends? The night before the fight, the inlet looks harmless. That's what makes it deadly. The water is dark, but not angry. The wind is there, but gentle. The stars hang above like indifferent eyes. And in that calm, a man can convince himself he's safe. Blackbeard wouldn't have. He would have felt the change the way sailors feel weather in their bones. He would have tasted it. Morning comes thin and gray, and then the shapes appear. 2 vessels, light enough to slip into the shallows. Enough men to be dangerous, not enough to be unstoppable. Maynard knew he couldn't win by brute force, so he did what smart men do when they face a legend. He refused to fight the legend on the legend's terms. He let Blackbeard think he had the advantage. The first exchange is chaos. Smoke, splinters, screams. The deck becoming a place you don't want to be standing. Blackbeard's guns speak, men fall. The air fills with a fog made by violence. And then comes the moment that ends. Stories. The ships grind close. Boarding. If you've never seen a boarding, it's not like movies. It's not clean swordplay. It's bodies colliding. It's feet slipping on wet wood. It's the sound a man makes when he realizes he's bleeding. Blackbeard steps onto Maynard's deck like the world belongs to him. Because for a moment, it does. And then Maynard's surprise rises from below like the sea itself vomiting up teeth. Men surge onto the deck, hidden until the last second. A trap inside a trap. The fight becomes a knot of rage. And here's the part most people miss. In that moment, treasure becomes meaningless. No one is thinking of chests. They are thinking of breath, of survival, of not dying with another man's boot on their throat. Blackbeard is wounded. Accounts differ on numbers, but they agree on one thing. He doesn't go down easily. That matters because it tells you the final truth about him. He wasn't just a costume. He could fight, and when the end comes, it comes fast. A blade, a shot, the snap of history. Maynard takes what he can carry, and what he can carry is not gold. It's proof, a head, a trophy, a message. Because in that era, you didn't defeat a pirate by killing him quietly. You defeated him by showing his death to the world. So the head is displayed, the legend is nailed down, and the authorities wait for the reward part of the story. But the reward doesn't come. No ship full of treasure glides into port. No chest is opened in front of cheering men. No mountain of gold changes hands. Just silence. And that silence is the deepest hook of all. Because it forces the question to survive. Where did it go? Back in the present, that question follows divers like a second shadow. Every artifact we lift whispers it. Every storm that shifts the sand might reveal it. And the most unsettling thought isn't that treasure is lost forever. It's that maybe Blackbeard never had a single hoard the way stories insist. Maybe the treasure was always moving, always spent, always traded, always turned into influence. Or maybe this is the version I can't shake. Maybe his last lie worked perfectly. Maybe he made sure the world would spend centuries looking for gold, while the real victory was this: he still owns our attention. Because even now, when I hold a piece of his ship in my gloved hands, I feel it, not greed. A strange respect for the cruelty of a man who understood stories better than kings did. If the treasure is out there, it's not just a chest, it's a verdict. A final message from a dead pirate to the living. You can kill me, but you can't claim what I decided to hide. And maybe that is the last lie. Not that there's treasure, but that it was ever meant to be found.